This production has been authorized, vetted, evaluated, and approved for your consumption by Wild LLC. You're welcome.
At this very moment, Wild LLC, and by proxy, Ethan Wild, is the proud owner of all intellectual property, equipment, rights, and authorities derived from or pertaining to high-tension wrestling.
Hey.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hey, welcome
back to Opinion City Podcast.
Yes, another episode of Opinion City Podcast presented to you by Wild LLC. When you're looking for the best business in the business, choose the financial stability of Wild LLC. Their fiduciary experts will turn even a monetary zero like you into a financial hero like them. Wild LLC, the proud new owners of High Tension Wrestling.
Yes.
All right.
A lot has happened.
A lot
in the last couple of days.
It's been an interesting weekend.
Yes.
Before we go any further, just want to give a shout out to our good friends at Love City Brewing.
Yes.
We are drinking some enjoyable, refreshing beverages from Love City Brewing, as provided to us by the good Dr. Ethan Wild at the Wild LLC after party on Friday night,
which we so graciously provided the fireworks.
We did. We were on top of that. So we're back for another episode, and it's going to be an interesting episode today. We've got a very interesting guest that we will get to in a moment, and of course, be sure to stay tuned to our main event, as today's top 5 is going to be
serious.
It's going to be out there. Let me tell you, it's going to be something
serious,
definitely worth checking out. But before we get to that, Sean,
yes,
you know, if you like Opinion City Podcast and you enjoy what we do here, yes, of course, we know you enjoy what we're doing. If you'd like to support us, there's 3 free, easy ways. We love talking about free. We love talking about easy. They're free and easy. 3. So first off, hit that like button.
Let us know that you like what you're watching, listening, hearing.
Absolutely.
That you're enjoying our stuff.
Yeah. And we know you like us. So hit that thumbs up button. You have no idea how much that helps us out and how important that is to us. Also, smash that subscribe button.
So you never miss a video, never miss a short, a clip, anything.
Listen, drive to Philadelphia, head to Love City Brewing, get up on the bar, drop an elbow drop on that subscribe button.
Yes. Let it know who's boss.
Never miss anything.
Let it know who's boss.
And third and finally, hit that share button.
Friends, colleagues, strangers, members,
go out and buy a wrestling company and tell all the wrestlers how much you love Opinion City. And of course, if you'd like to take your love for Opinion City just a little bit further,
get that Wild LLC merch.
That's right.
Opinion City, Wyatt 6, Wild LLC merch. Yes.
Definitely check that out, as well as many other pieces of merchandise that
Tons
we have.
Of things.
We've got lots of shirts. We've got fanny packs.
Get all the things.
Sleep on those. While you're at it, follow us at Opinion City Pod for everything that we're doing here at the Opinion City family of podcasts.
Yep.
Follow us at Wild_LLC to see everything that the bosses are doing. And finally, and most importantly, follow and support
the guests.
Our guests, which today might be a little hard. I mean, but our guest today really does need some extra love and support. So,
and we got the approval from Stephen from HR to do this episode.
That's correct. Stephen from HR said this was okay. Shout out to Stephen. I know we've had our problems and issues. I know that we're pro Workday, even though we don't know how to use it and really can't get into it yet. Still can't get in yet, but this is definitely approved. So follow and support our guest today. Now, Sean,
tell us
who our guest is, because it might be a little awkward being who the bosses are, but who do we
I
have?
mean, yeah. Well, speaking of workday, this was why this episode happened. Because we looked at our Sunday, and there was nothing there. It was blank. So we called Stephen Archer and said, "Hey, we need a guest." And
boy, did we get one.
We got a big one.
We did.
Hot off of Solar Slam this past Friday, we have the now former owner of High Tension Wrestling, Alex Watt.
Sir.
How you doing there, buddy?
Welcome to the program.
You have shirts.
Sure. Yeah.
You have Wild LLC shirts.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
logos. We don't really have a say in what we do half the time. They just tell us to do stuff when we do it. So the merch was a thing that we were told to make and put out.
Ethan is nice about it. Dylan, not so much. He just yells a lot.
He just yells a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
So. I find the entire intro insulting. I find this entire display insulting.
Mm-hmm. Again, this was all graphics and stuff provided by Ethan Wild. We didn't, we're happy that we're even hosts still. In the beginning, it was just going to be Ethan Wild and Dylan Mesh. They handily gave us our hosting duties back, but that's the only thing that we have in common here is that, as we've seen on Friday, they bought you out as well as they bought us out a few months back.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So when you booked me, you were unaware of the shenanigans.
They don't tell us anything. They really don't.
Well, I mean, yeah, we had no idea. Like, so we get these corporate mandates that come down and they say, you're going to do this and you're going to do this. And you're going to be here and you're going to go where we tell you. And it's like, okay, we follow along with the madness. And then we show up on Friday and lo and behold, they duped another person out of their livelihood and their business.
Mm-hmm.
That they did.
So I wanted to start off and ask, because as you know, Saturday they dropped their State of the Wild LLC address after Solar Slam, and I know that you viewed and watched the entire thing. I wanted to get your initial thoughts and comments on the State of Wild LLC address.
I think, like any good politician, there's a whole lot of truth sprinkled with a whole lot of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a little bit extra crap sprinkled in by Dr. Ethan Wild. Let's not forget, I've been there since the beginning of his journey. I've been there since the bleach blonde hair. It's been an incredible journey, and I never saw it coming quite to this. So yeah, there's some things he said that was very nice about High Tension Wrestling. He seems to have some very great ideas for High Tension Wrestling. It would have been nice to have collaborated with those ideas. It would have been nice to not be blindsided and duped and scammed out of my business. And I have yet to even get word from the maestro about it. He's been on vacation out of the country and unable to reach for comment. So yeah, I'm flabbergasted.
Interestingly enough, you mentioned the bleach blonde hair. We've been provided some interesting graphics here. One being there he is. Now,
there's that bleach blonde look.
This is Ethan Wild back in the Camp Leapfrog days.
Yeah, going old school with it.
Yeah,
yeah. See, not much has changed except he somehow looks more goofy. Yeah.
Oh my. Oof. Yeah, that's very interesting. Well, so we had the press conference on Friday, and obviously we find out, that there has been some trickery, some nonsense shenanigans going on.
Yeah.
Not all hope is technically lost. We don't have they don't have control of the High Tension Wrestling Network TV Championship yet, and actually they also lost their tag team titles as well
They
on
did.
Friday
They
night.
did.
To,
They did.
Kingsglaive, Max
did.
Zero, and Travis Huckabee,
Mm-hmm.
pulling off the win there, and so not all hope is technically lost, but it doesn't. The future does not look bright at the moment. Let's just put it that way. Now, Ethan has a title shot coming up apparently against
Philly Mike. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. At Phantom 6 Wrestling at Country Club Brewing in Allentown. Or Bethlehem, maybe.
Bethlehem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So not all hope is lost, but Friday night was not a good night for a lot of people as far as this goes.
Yeah.
And I understand, I understand your issues with the whole situation. Have you had a chance to really talk to anybody else about this, maybe roster wise, or other people that may have been feeling the same sort of a similar sting that you're feeling?
I tried to get a hold of Brian Ace. As you might know, that we have a bit of a little relationship. I felt like I was a bit of a mentor to him back in the day.
Right.
Unfortunately, I can't reach him. I've tried to get a hold of Maestro, can't reach him. But I have been able to speak with some legal counsel.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
A bright point is that Ethan owns High Tension Wrestling, but he does not own my stake in the HTW Network.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
wow, that's an exclusive there.
Yeah, it is. There you go.
So I have some ideas. We'll see. I might come up with maybe I'll start a new promotion.
No.
Who knows? But as of right now, if you guys really want to get raw and get into how horrible this week has been for me,
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
A little bit of real life for you is getting ready for the show on Friday. Pulling into my parking space, and the front axle of my truck snaps in half.
Oh no.
So very possibly Friday we might not have a wrestling show.
Oh geez.
Luckily the garage is right down the road, and they were open very early, and we're able to whiff for some cash.
Right.
Put together the vehicle in order to tow the ring to get there. But that wasn't all.
Oh,
the GPS rerouted me to a very steep hill.
Oh, geez.
To where the ring was so heavy that we couldn't stop.
Oh no!
So as I'm going into the oncoming lane to avoid cars that are stopped in front of me, my brakes and my tires are literally smoking. So avoiding death.
Jeez.
Avoiding death to get to this arena, and only to find that I've lost my company as well, which horrible. Don't love that, but I like to put a positive spin on things. So I don't know, maybe new opportunities would arise. But then I find out in the state of the Wild LLC address that they're also seizing all of my equipment and assets. So now I have nothing, but also I have less than nothing because they also took the ring trailer that was rented.
Oh no!
Jeez.
So whose card was charged for that? $20,000 in the hole.
Jeez!
Wow,
man, those guys.
So
those guys.
Yeah, they're absolutely the worst, and
and I feel like it's not just it's not just Dr. Ethan Wild that is to blame for this. Obviously, he's the mastermind, but and this is something again that we have in common with you: the slick legal maneuvers of one Journey Burke Esquire. Pulling all the legal strings in the background, just making all of these things happen. Just another terrible person as far as just treating people. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
But speaking of legal action, you had a contract that they say you signed. Do you remember signing that contract and what that contract was originally for?
Yeah,
Before
absolutely.
they duped you with this
Yeah, I'll say.
ruse?
I was told that Maestro had read the contract. The contract was, as I was told, and the front page of the contract had some wording to the effect of
Mhm.
Sonny and Cromwell's having a title shot at the Campeonatos de Iranes tag team titles. So we signed that into action.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall the rest. I trusted my partner that the wording was good. He said he had read it backstage.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, we signed over the company. I've been since received copy of the non-ripped up form.
Right, because they have made so many copies to make sure that you didn't just tear it up and call it null and void.
Indeed. So yeah, no, this is all apparently very legal and very legit. And I mean, I'm just kind of hopeless at this point.
Yeah.
We definitely understand that feeling.
Yes, we definitely feel that part of it for sure.
But and obviously, we're gonna, as we get into our top 5 later in the episode, we're gonna get into some of the things that you would like to say towards them. But but before we get to the bad, let's talk a little bit about the good.
Yes.
Let's kind of rewind the clock here and just talk a little bit about the idea of high tension wrestling, the idea of the network. Where really did all of this start?
Wow. A couple different places actually. So initially, I started podcasting. And as a podcaster with the Wicked Turtle Network, which is a name that I created in high school, and then eventually started podcasting.
Nice.
We went to a show at PPW in Hazleton to see Diamond Dallas Page.
Oh, cool.
We had already interviewed Martin Kleba from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Okay.
And after that, I was like, we need more celebrity content. So I hooked up with Paul Bell, and he brought us in, and I would book talent. They would get them to wrestle on the show, and then we would talk to the talent. I think the first one we interviewed was Nunzio and Jack Swagger. Just a lot of fun. And
cool.
After about a year or so, they invited me to be part owner in the company.
Oh.
And then after about another year, I was like, I think I want to do my own company. And that's when I met with my high school friend, the Maestro, and found out he also had a passion for wrestling, because all I knew is that we used to do theater together.
Right.
And then I saw he posted pictures with John Cena. And I'm like, this guy likes wrestling? I was like,
right.
So I was like, hey, bud, we were at Icons in Philadelphia, and I was just like, do you want to start a wrestling company together?
Yeah, right.
So he's like, yes, yeah, let's do that. So we planned a show. Thank goodness that show didn't happen because of the pandemic.
Right.
We did book Joey. What's that guy? Joey, the guy with the penis gimmick. Joey Ryan.
Joey Ryan.
Yeah, Joey Ryan. Right.
We had a bit with him and the Boogeyman, and we had Alpha Jr. And, it was a very, very good card at the time, but thank goodness that didn't happen. Pandemic hit, and this is awful. So the pandemic hit, and we were just super bored, and we wanted to create content. We wanted to do something. So we knew that things were going to clear up a little bit by summer, and we were like, okay, well, we have a big backyard. Why don't we do a 4th of July barbecue? And we'll do like four matches. We'll set up the ring. We'll do like a pool battle royal, and it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be very cinematic. It'll be different than anything anybody's ever seen. So we teamed up with what were the Locker Dicks at the time, which were Chris Levin and Mark Haggerty. And before that came to fruition, Mark Haggerty had unfortunately got canceled in the speaking out
Mhm.
issue.
Mhm.
And then Chris had the fantastic idea of pivoting that idea into a camp setting because he was watching. I forget what the name of the cartoon was at the time, but it was very campy. So
Mhm.
we went full into this camp idea. It was just going to be one show, just a one-off
Mhm.
camp thing. IWTV was very heavy in helping put that together,
Right.
and it was kind of a hit. And they were like, "Hey, why don't you do another one?" So we did, and Warhorse came and defended the IWTV title on our second show.
Nice. That's
And then
awesome.
we just couldn't stop running. We were just like, all right, we'll do another show. Actually, we're going to do 2 shows in a weekend, one live, and then we'll put one out the next month. This is insane.
Nice.
So all through the pandemic, we were doing really fun shows at Camp Leapfrog, and that's when
Mhm.
um, Ethan Wilde appeared as our main villain.
Mhm.
Although, like, I don't know. I think Ethan Wilde has always been incredibly smart, and that's about the best compliment I'm going to give him.
Yeah.
Because at Leapfrog, he surrounded himself by, I want to call them idiots. They're buffoons.
Okay.
They're goofs. There was uh, an inspector. There was Kevin Skiffington, who
Okay.
I love Kevin Skiffington. He just had a habit of dying
Oh
almost
God.
every episode, like Kenny from South Park. I
Okay.
remember very specifically him drowning in a pool.
Oh Jesus.
Um,
Okay.
I think Tommy Vex was a part of their group at one point.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so I don't know. He just didn't have the best people around him. And then fast forward to for some reason, some things were said about one of our partners that I don't believe ever needed to be said in public, but
Mhm.
they were. And we had to shut down Camp Leapfrog. And again, about a year passed. We were doing a lot of production work, and we were working with good companies doing like video for them.
Mhm.
And that's when we met. Well, we've already worked with Mayday from Combat Fights Unlimited,
Okay.
and we had a good relationship with them. And then we started our first high tension wrestling show. We set it up for the Scranton Mall, the Steamtown Mall in Scranton,
Okay.
and
Mhm.
we ran there. And then we had an opportunity to run an event at the Throop Civic Center, but I had already scheduled our next event for Reading, PA.
Okay.
So Uncle Masty from Smash Master Wrestling was wanting to start something up.
Mhm.
And so he was kind of like offered this opportunity to run the Throop Civic Center. And
Mhm.
that's history. That he took off, has a great
Right.
following in the Scranton area. And Smash Master Wrestling was like the first that was in the network. It was High Tension
Mhm.
Wrestling and Smash Master were working together.
Right.
And then Mayday's like, so when am I getting the invite?
Yeah.
We're already working together, so might as well make it official. So
Right.
then there's the 3 companies, and then it was just a matter of having the philosophy of let's be good to get together and
Mhm.
let's grow together. Wrestling is a very expensive thing to do.
Mhm.
Sure.
So if you're doing it on your own, you're paying for a wrestling ring,
Right.
minimum $400 to $600, maybe more. You're paying for a doctor, probably
Mhm.
$250 to $350 per show. So now we're already at about $1,000 for just a ring and a doctor, not to
Right.
mention your talent and
Right.
your venue. But imagine you're part of a network who already has a wrestling ring, already
Mhm.
has production equipment,
Right.
has an
Yep.
in with doctors and venues. So now you have PWE, who like
Mhm.
we kind of struggled a bit to find our footing in Philadelphia. We had trouble finding venues that weren't already burnt out on wrestling, having
Right.
ruined it, because a lot of bad wrestling has happened that made people not want to do wrestling anymore.
Yeah.
So Labor of Love, they we linked up with them to help them license some shows, and we became friends. They joined the network, and then they linked us up with PWE. They're like, hey, Eric from PWE has an in with a lot of venues.
Mhm.
I think this can help you save money, and in
Right.
turn our assets help PWE save money. So that idea of we grow together, we help each other, we have the ability now to team up to run shows at a much lower cost. And it's an absolutely fantastic thing. And more wrestling equals everybody having a good time.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
So, yeah.
How did you come up with the actual name High Tension Wrestling?
That's a great question. I don't remember exactly. It was a lot of It was a lot of brainstorming of, I think there was like high voltage or something. Like we wanted something that sounded like hardcore and yet high intensity. So high intensity was an idea. But then we were like, HI? No, that doesn't sound good. So eventually we landed on High Tension Wrestling. Because in the beginning, when I wanted to start my own company, it was like, what do I want to bring to wrestling? And what I was inspired by was Joey Janela's Spring Break 2.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, there was Japanese style, there was hardcore, there was the cluster F. And then there was just every match was something so completely different in style.
Yeah.
That I was like, that's what I want to do. I want it to be different styles or a style that's not typical to the area, but I also want to bring cinema and story and characters, and I want to be deep in that.
Right.
And I feel like it took a while to find our footing, but that's what we do.
Right.
Yeah, you two things. One, in talking about the costs, you didn't even mention that, you're here in the state of Pennsylvania. So between promoter's license and insurance and all that nonsense, it's running a wrestling company in the state of Pennsylvania is a lot different than running other places because the state has such a hand in things, and it's insanity. But you kind of have an interesting parallel with Joey Janela's Spring Break, because I mean, initially that was just like a very low key thing, WrestleMania week, like, midnight. It was just this kind of low key thing, and it just blew up. After
it blew off to the roof. Yeah,
like it became this huge thing. And I feel like, going from starting your company to kind of where High Tension Wrestling went, you had very similar paths, because it feels like High Tension Wrestling became something very big, something a lot of people talk about, a lot of people know. It kind of had that growth like Joey Janela's Spring Break.
I appreciate that, because like I have a hard time looking and seeing the value in the things that I do. But it's nice to hear that and think back. And when you say that, I do recall certain things that I'm like super proud of. There was a time like with Leapfrog, we grew to a point where GCW wanted to bring us in to be a part of their 24-hour Fight Forever stream. We had
that's really cool.
Yeah, we had an entire hour, so we did a 9-on-9 Cybernetico.
Nice.
And, it's one of the greatest things that we've ever participated in, and we had plans of eventually running that back at a show. But that, for me, that was my highest dream accomplished. I'm never going to team with WWE. I'm never going to team with. Well, I've licensed some TNA shows.
Okay.
But I have not. Impact technically. But
right.
As far as being able to like be a promoter that has had our people on a GCW show, and very much thanks to Chris Levin for that. That's like my highest achievement at that time, and I was like, if this doesn't take off, this is what I'm hanging my hat on.
Right.
But then we started High Tension Wrestling, and then we started the network, and then the network itself became more important than just that one promotion.
Right.
And that's where I take my pride. Like so many people in the wrestling community, they know the name High Tension Network.
Right.
At the very least. And it's like, wow, we did that. Or I started that. Or me and Maestro started that. It is incredible.
Now, in WWE, they do have they have their WrestleMania. Does High Tension Wrestling have like a WrestleMania? And if you do, do you recall a moment where you think that could have been a WrestleMania moment?
I want to say the closest thing that we've had to it is Christmas Trios.
Okay.
And that was like we've only done 2 of them, and it was going to be a biannual thing. I don't think we're going to revisit it as far as Christmas trios goes, but I'm sure we're still going to do another trios event. Well, not me.
Right.
Right.
So,
But-
well, listen, you don't know what the future holds for you. I mean,
Right.
you did mention, starting your own company, and I'm sure that there are plenty of people that would want to come and work for you. So,
Right.
Yeah, I hope so.
don't put, don't take anything off the table yet.
Right. Not just yet.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
So it's interesting that Sean asked you kind of like what your WrestleMania or your WrestleMania moment might be. Because I wanted to ask you maybe to kind of talk a little bit about sort of, I guess the way I would put it is maybe the mythos or the legend of Camp Leapfrog, because every time we talk to somebody that has had something to do with HTW or somebody that is a fan of HTW, Camp Leapfrog is the one thing they always bring up, and Camp Leapfrog
every time,
has a very special place in people's hearts. Like it's unbelievable. I mean, people talk about that like they talk about the old King of Trios tournament.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very close to people's hearts. So maybe you can talk a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, I think it comes to 2 words, and it's home and it's family. Because what had happened was right before, well, actually the speaking out movement occurred.
Right.
And Chikara had to unfortunately close down, or at least perceived to have closed down. And it left a lot of young Chikara students and early in their stages of wrestling without a home. And Chris was a part of that. So when it came time for us to book that pandemic show that we wanted to do, we had a couple talent that me and Andrew were scouting. But a lot of those talent really wouldn't have been involved in this. They were kind of like your somewhat mid-level super indie guys that, but these guys, the Chikara kids, were just so wonderful and appreciative. Yes. We're like, you've given us a place to come and play. Like, we felt abandoned, and now we have this home. Can you please keep this going, kind of? And it just, I think we all just kind of fell in love with each other and had this place that we could go to when we're stuck in our homes or we're working from home. And I think we were just all relieved to respectfully and safely gather and play. And then we also, like, me and Andrew would provide food, a shit ton of pizza. Or I think the second show, Andrew's mom made I think it was like bowls of chili. Like,
oh, nice!
It was just so much fun, and we just had so much fun there. And I think that's like that essence that people liked, is that we had a home, we had family, and that lasted for so long. And while Andrew and I were putting out money to keep that going, and after we picked up steam, we got sponsors to cover maybe about a quarter of the shows. But still, even though it was in a backyard, we were still buying food, and we were still paying for certain equipment and production costs, not necessarily paying talent, because it was very much volunteer. Like, hey, do you want to come play? We'll find a spot for you.
Sure.
But it was also like everybody had a say. It was collaborative. Nice. If we're like, hey, here's the match we're thinking, what do you want to do? And the theme is we're having a Halloween party and there's a mystery going on. Where do you fit in? What's your concept? And everybody got to pitch in, and it was this beautiful collaborative place. And that's the essence that I aimed to keep in High Tension. And even with Friday's show, every single match, the wrestlers came up to me and were like, I have an idea. And every one of their ideas made the show so much better than I imagined it to be. And I couldn't be more proud. When we come together, we create something beautiful. It's not just, I'm the promoter, do what I say. It's never the case. So that's a little bit of it. I think it was a place that we felt at home, where we got to see our friends, and that's never going to be recaptured no matter what we do, because the
Right.
circumstances of the pandemic were unique,
Yeah.
and wrestling was all but gone beyond a few companies. Now it's very saturated again, and it's hard to survive in that world, but we're slowly growing
Right.
and finding that fan base again. Some of our fans, shout them out on Twitter, Otar, Sawyer, and like Hina, just to name a few. They've been at every show, and they're so
Yeah.
loyal and love what we do, and I am grateful for them.
Right. And I think despite the Chikara shutdown, there's something to be said about Chikara and that vibe, because Camp Free Golf sort of adapted the vibe of, like you said, family and home. The same goes for like Labor of Love and like LVAC. They all sort of adapted this idea that this is a family setting as well as this can be home for you.
Yes.
And I think all of that can be attributed to sort of that Chikara family vibe that they gave out before their shutdown.
Yeah, I think it's very smart to find a group of people who want to be there, and they prove it, and they show up. They don't politic or ego, none of that. For a while, I was booking anybody who wanted to be there, because that's very much what Leapfrog was. Like, you want to show up, we'll find a spot for you. We have all day to film. Well, putting on a show with real money and real venues, you can't do that. And so like Sonny Defarge, he gave me some advice. He's like, listen, if you don't book me, I'll find another show. And I was just like, wow. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Right.
So then we the first time I exercised that was the Boiling Point tapings, and that went so well. And so after that, I went up to Sonny. I said, dude, thank you. Like, I think you saved this company, honestly. Like, and just this last show, the collaborative events, prioritizing a main story that has like a theme that goes throughout that everybody can follow and get into. I think it's very important. And then also alternating in people who I haven't had to get on in a while, which is something Labor of Love is really good at.
Yeah. And you mentioned the HTW Boiling Point tapings. Ralph was at that long day.
Right. Yeah, my wife and I were both there, and it was it was an incredible thing to see. You know, I'd never been to a taping that was necessarily that long, and so but what was great, and this was something that was said that day, and it really kind of rang true, and I think it speaks to high tension and what you were saying about people wanting to be there. You know, the crowd that was there, the small crowd that was there, had the same exact enthusiasm the final match of the 8 hours as they did the very first match.
They were hot the entire night.
And that's a testament to what HTW has become. You know, Chikara, for better or for worse, kind of set a standard for what you know, companies and fans and interaction, you know, what it could be. And very few companies have lived up to that, especially, you know, being here on the East Coast. You know, a lot of people fondly remember their days at Chikara, be it as wrestlers, fans, whatever. And I think that HTW has really kind of become one of those very few companies that has kind of hit those standards where people are saying, you know, this is a place I really want to be. And the success of those, the Boiling Point tapings, and just the atmosphere, and you just had a building full of people that all wanted to be together, wanted to participate, wanted to watch wrestling, wanted to just, you know, do what they could. I always tell this story because I think it's hilarious. My wife and I were sitting there all day, and there was this gentleman sitting behind us. We didn't know who he was. Like, we had no idea. He'd been sitting there literally all day behind us. And we get to the last match of the tapings, and we notice that he's not there. So we figured, that's kind of crazy that you've been sitting here all day and you leave before the last match. Well, here the music hits and he comes out of the curtain and it's Don Freeze. And, you know, not for nothing, but he blew the building away. Like, after 8 hours of tapings, people could not stop. Like, the excitement level for him was so incredible, because it's like, here comes this guy that, you know, he's he is a wrestler of size, and so you don't assume that he's going to do the things that he does, and then he gets in there and does them, and it's like your mind is blown. So I just thought it was hilarious that he was literally sitting behind me the whole day, and I had no idea. We've had him on the show previously, and he is a fantastic guy. He's got such a
amazing
great attitude.
It's such a special moment because he rode with Mike Skyros, and Mike's like, "Hey, if you can get him on, like, that'd be great. If not, it's cool. He don't mind." And so he's standing there all day, and I'm just like, "I'm gonna try to get you on." And I'm talking to Laura, who's like, she's our production manager.
Mm-hmm.
CC Boosts something.
Manager,
manager, something like that. She tries to keep him in line very unsuccessfully. But she had told me, she's like, we have a lot going on. I don't think this is going to happen. I'm like, let's just give the kid something. So we get him on there, and immediately, like, he does what he's doing, flipping around in the ring, and everybody's losing their minds. And I look over at Mike Skyros, and he's just like cheesing. He's so proud of this kid.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
So that moment for me, it's just like it's so worth it.
After Don Freeze's episode, he actually reached out to us and said thank you for giving him a spotlight.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's such a great attitude. The kind of person that you want to be around.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, that's great. So, we're kind of on a high note here talking about high tension.
Yes.
You did mention Camp Leapfrog. And obviously, the elephant in the room here, the takeover and Dr. Ethan Wild, and we did receive a piece of footage that we'd like to show that this is back from the Camp Leapfrog days, and this kind of gives you an idea of how really terrible Ethan is.
Yeah, this is day one at Camp Leapfrog, by the way. This is
day one.
This is day one.
Wow.
He shows up because a little background on it before we show it is Ethan wasn't always a CEO. He was a very low-level corporate peon, and he worked for Performance Capital based in Orlando, Florida, if you know what I'm saying. So like I said, he was surrounding himself with a bunch of idiots, going around and just trying to find the worst of the crew at Camp Leapfrog and turning them against us. And what happens in this clip is exactly what eventually I plan to do to Ethan for what he did to me.
All right, well, let's fire that up.
This moment, Camp Leapfrog is shut down! Hey guys! Let's get him! Hey, come here. No one makes fun of our fireball! Right here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That's nice.
Wow.
quite a moment there for
quite a moment.
And
that was day
blonde.
one. That's crazy.
Yeah.
He tried to shut you down before you even got a chance to start.
He's been trying since day one.
Crazy.
Quite a few years later, he's finally successful. But I will say, company or no company, you guys have made me proud of being able to have a company that was worth stealing. So I appreciate all the kind things you guys have said about it.
I mean, it's not just kind things; it's all true. Like, it really is. Like, like your name, just the name High Tension. Like Ralph said before, everyone immediately knows what that means. Like, it's not just like what is it? It's like, oh, High Tension, got it. Like, they know what it is immediately. Like, it's not a hidden name anymore.
Right. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So, again, we're kind of on a high point here, and I know things are going to get a little
down
tense as we move into our top five. But before we do that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about you. First off,
Sure.
You know, and I know Sean jumped in and mentioned this, you know, as we were preparing to come on the air today, but you have got quite the stylish Hannah Montana shirt on.
Right.
Oh,
Rocking it like.
absolutely. That's right. I just bought this shirt because they started making my size. But,
Right.
Listen, I'm with you.
I, you know, as a straight male, I don't think it's that weird that I owned every Hannah Montana DVD as a 20-year-old man.
Right.
To be fair, though, there was this weird little connection that I had.
Okay.
Okay. First, was a big fan of Billy Ray Cyrus as a kid.
Okay.
The Achy Breaky Heart was kind of my jam.
Of course. It was everyone's jam back in the day. Of course it was.
I remember for Christmas, my great-grandparents got me a sweatsuit that said Achy Breaky Heart on it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Hell yeah.
I would wear that now.
Right.
Oh, I would
Absolutely.
love to have one now. So my mom had moved us to Mobile, Alabama. And I don't know, like 8 years old or something, maybe around that area. And I'm playing with these kids down the road. And when I say like down the road, it's 3 houses over, but a mile down a dirt road.
Right. Okay.
So I met these kids by driving my 3-wheeler up and down this road, and right past their no trespassing sign to their little compound. And so I started playing with these kids, and they kept bragging, "My uncle's Billy Ray Cyrus."
Oh, yeah?
No, he's not. Shut up. Prove it. He's coming over this weekend. Okay, I'm sure. Whatever. I'm coming over this weekend. Sure enough, Billy Ray Cyrus and a little baby Miley. So,
wow.
So I've always been supportive of that. And it was a fun show.
Yeah.
So I will say, for me, the show, not so much. But I thought that the Hannah Montana movie was pretty good. I will give the movie.
Is that the one where she like went and lived on a farm for a little bit to hide from fame?
Yes, and then she finally announces to all the people in the town, because I think it was like where her grandmother lived or whatever.
Right.
She announces to all the people in the town who she is, because the press keeps hounding her there, like one specific press and member in particular, but she announces to them and they all agree to keep her secret.
It's wild. When it comes to like Miley Cyrus, my favorite Miley Cyrus songs aren't even hers. She has a series on YouTube called The Backyard Sessions.
Oh, I've seen that before. Yeah.
My God, I
have to check that out.
Yeah. So good. She covers Dolly Parton's Jolene. There's quite a few other songs that are just beautiful.
Now, are you more Miley Cyrus or are you more Hannah Montana?
Definitely Miley Cyrus. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. And also, there was I forget the girl's name, but she played Hannah Montana's friend on the show. And now, all grown up, I was watching her in some sitcom. And I'm like, this girl's really cute. I like
I'm gonna listen. Oh boy, this we've already gone too far into.
You've already gone. Let's go.
Talk, but her name is Haley Osment.
That's it. Yeah.
There you go.
I shouldn't know that, but I do.
Why not? Why not? We're already here. We're already here.
Listen.
We've already gone too far off the train. We're just ghosting now.
It definitely blew my mind when I'm like, oh, that's the little girl from the Hannah Montana. Now I feel icky. I don't like it. But
Now, back to your history. Were you always a wrestling fan growing up? Did you have a phase where you kind of stopped watching for a while, or did you just stay the course?
I love this question. This is a great question. So I remember my first exposure to wrestling was me and my friend in 3rd grade. We were camping at his like trailer park in like somewhere in like Delaware. But we went to one of his friend's trailers and they had these VHSs. One of them was wrestling pay-per-view.
Okay.
And Shawn Michaels coming down on the zip line.
Oh yeah,
I was like, what is this shit? I'm like, I didn't get it. I didn't like it. I was too young, and I was just like, I just didn't understand what it was.
Right.
Fast forward a couple years, and my older cousin was staying with us on the weekends, and he's watching. It was like Monday Night Raw,
Mm-hmm.
and I just happened to be walking by the TV, and Ric Flair's music hits. And
Oh,
he
okay.
comes down to the ring, and he tells Vince McMahon, "I just bought half of your company from your kids." And I go, "Oh, the drama."
Right.
What is happening now? Who is this guy and who is that guy?
Right.
And I was like, when is this on again? Next week? And I never missed a show from 2000 up until probably 2007. I didn't miss a wrestling show, and I recorded every single one on VHS.
Wow.
Ordered every single pay-per-view in that period of time. Have the collectible cards to prove it.
Nice.
Around 2007, like right after high school, I kind of dropped off for a couple years. But in that span of time, I met a local indie wrestler, and they also exposed me to my first indie show.
Oh, cool.
And that's when I fell in love with independent wrestling. I was like, this is cooler. You mean I get to go to a show and sit front row for $20?
Right.
What?
Right.
This is insane. And these people are crazy because they don't swear on TV, but at this indie show,
oh yeah,
my mom has no idea what she taught me off on. She's just like, "I'll pick you up in 3 hours." I'm like, "Okay."
All right.
I walk in there, and the Rocket Rebels, F this, F that. You're
listen, we got a Rock and Rebel story for you, buddy.
There you go.
Oh, but yeah, and then so it was the Rock and Rebel that blew my mind as a kid. I was like, "This guy's saying it all. Let's go!"
Right.
Athletically, the Backseat Boys from
yes.
That I was like, these guys are like the Hardy Boys, but better. I can't wait till they're on TV to face the Hardys. And then, unfortunately, Trent Acid passed away.
Right.
And I recently got to meet Johnny Kashmere as an adult, and then he tried to get a booking from me. I was like, I'd love to book you. I will mark out for you all day.
Right.
You were at my first indie show. So yeah, I fell in love with that, and then eventually for my 16th birthday, my mom gave the promoter of that show like $2,000 to train me to be a wrestler.
Wow.
So shout out to Mark Mest. Would go to the Mark Mest dungeon.
Oh, Mark Mest, yeah.
Oh hell yeah, right, yeah.
I would do, the training there for a while, and I'd help out at all the shows, and it was a lot of fun. But somewhere along the line, balancing theater and balancing that, and then graduating high school, and then trying to go to college, but then not going to college and starting to work full time, it just kind of fell off, and I kind of lost my confidence because I had an idea of the wrestler I wanted to be, but then I was told oh, hey, we're going to tag team you with this guy, but I was like, that guy's a goofball. I'm trying to be serious about wrestling.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, you kind of look Samoan, and we could build you. You're short, you're stocky. You could be like the next Taz. We'll get you in a caveman little thing and a singlet. I'm like,
oh, geez,
guys. So I don't know. I kind of dropped off from that, and then came back to it every couple of years. But then I came back to it in the form of a podcaster in 2018.
Okay.
And then everything I told you earlier kind of just fell in suit.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. A friend of mine used to run shows, TWWA back in the day, and he was worked with Mark Mest quite a bit. So it's cool that you brought him up.
I love him.
I did want to ask you. You mentioned, seeing Shawn Michaels coming down on the zip line. Was that your first? Was that the first pay-per-view you had seen?
That's the first image of professional wrestling I ever saw.
That's incredible. That's the first pay-per-view I ever bought. A friend.
Oh, wow.
There you go. There you go.
We wanted to see Shawn Michaels win the title, so a friend of mine and I threw in together, and because I didn't have the cable box yet, so you had to pay for the special cable box to get the pay-per-views, and then you had to pay for the pay-per-view. So it ended up being $100 and some for this pay-per-view. But we so wanted to see Shawn Michaels win the title, so we threw in together for that. Yeah, such memories.
It was a great time back then. There was so much to suck you in, and it's like everybody wants to recreate ECW or the Attitude Era, and it's like, okay, but what made those things good? Like this, rather than trying to copy something, be like, all right, what made those good? It was a lot of like just crazy, goofy stories that were a little outlandish. It was characters and personalities that you could just like, you just love them. Even if you hate them, you love to hate them. And that's why those are the core things that we look at. Like CC Boost. CC Boost is probably one of the greatest characters in high tension wrestling, but it also like it's not a joke. The Laura, his accountability buddy, that comes from CC Boost giving me actual anxiety when he's in a match.
Right.
That like I, as a promoter, I'm like, I'm gonna get sued. Like so we actually were like, hey, we're gonna give you a manager, and when you're doing too much, she's gonna be like, yo, calm the fuck down.
But so what happened at SummerSlam? What happened? SummerSlam they went outside and
CC Boost got wise because I told him, I was like, hey, don't do this, don't do that, don't wreck the building. He goes, got it. And then he chose not to tell Laura anything. And they go outside. And then after the match, he goes, you didn't say I couldn't go outside.
There you go.
CC Boost is a legend on this show because there's been a number of conversations.
He has mythos on this show. The whole mythos on this show.
in trips to Vermont with Ultimo Ant, they have tried to find moose. Now they have been pointed to a highway up there where they are told that more people are killed by moose than anywhere in the United States. They constantly drive this highway looking for moose.
I mean, they have
never seen one.
Anybody fights a moose, this Boost.
They stay somewhere at a hotel where they're told like right over there in the bushes, moose always come out. They never see anything. And on their ride home, they're getting like pictures from people of like mooses there. And he's like, this is not real.
It's not real. This is AI.
CC Boost has told them that if we ever find a moose, I'm going to get out and wrestle it. So
and I believe it.
Yeah,
it's the first ever man versus moose match. And if it ever happens, it would be from CC Boost. We've talked to multiple wrestlers about it, and everyone seems to have the consensus that moose are not real. They are a myth. They do not exist. It is AI, not real.
I never want to encounter a moose at all.
I'm with you. They're much bigger than we are. I don't need that.
I'll pass.
No. All right. Well,
before we get into the more somber part of the podcast, because we've been on such a high, we do want to give you one more question before we get to our top 5, and that is, what does pro wrestling mean to you, and what is the significance that it has had on your life?
It's shaped my life. I think pro wrestling has probably brought me the greatest things in my life. From a kid who was kind of in a bad place, having switched schools due to like not necessarily behavioral issues, but like in 6th grade, I was hanging out with the bad crowd.
Right.
And so my principal was like, hey, like you failed 6th grade because you just didn't do anything. Not that you don't have the ability to. So we're going to send you to the other middle school. So they arranged for me to ride a bus to the other middle school that I shouldn't have gone to so that I would be isolated from my typical friends. So about a year later in 8th grade, we're doing a report in our creative writing class, and me and the guy next to me are both writing about wrestling, and he's writing about Kane. I'm like, oh, you like Kane? You like wrestling? And it's been my best friend ever since.
Nice.
We did backyard wrestling together. We did everything together. So like from my best friend to starting wrestling to being able to outwardly express myself and like be able to like act and then enjoy finding out that I enjoy being a performer and like directing and writing creatively. It's all stemmed from wrestling bringing me out of my shell and me noticing from day one being sucked into the drama of wrestling and not the athletics. Also, but I also respect that.
Right.
So after I kind of gave up wrestling, I went into a all work and no play mentality. And so when I found wrestling again, I was like, I've got to do this.
Right.
So, I've through that and through meeting my co-promoter, Andrew, I've kind of taken on little bits of their personalities, which is like, take time for yourself, allow yourself to be entertained, not always the entertainer.
Right.
So wrestling has helped me find a balance, but also a place where I can express myself and kind of create this little family. Because I used to have an issue with separation when I had like this great theater group in high school. And afterwards, like for years, I was just like depressed. I'm like, I miss my friends. But now I have my friends. I see them almost every month. It's fantastic. You know? So yeah, it's brought a lot of great things into my life. Also a lot of financial, not great things, but we're figuring that out and we're doing great things as we build the network. We're helping each other save costs,
right?
And that's also making us even better friends. So yeah, it's made my life incredibly better. Wrestling isn't everything in my life, but it's definitely a huge part of it.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. So now it's soon time for some unpleasantries. So before we get to that, we're going to take a brief break, and we will be right back with our main event top 5.
Indeed.
All right. You guys are all wrong. That really brought me down.
Well, again, this is all graphics provided by Wild LLC. So either way, speaking of time for top 5 main event, we usually give the guest a choice, but this week we're doing something a little different. This week we're giving Alex Watt the opportunity, thanks to Stephen from HR, to air out his grievances. So this week we're doing top 5 things that he has missed about no longer owning High Tension Wrestling. We given him a good couple of days and hours to think about that, and now we're going to be presented with the top 5 things that have been missed.
And this is a safe space here, so don't.
Yes, we are a safe space.
You can vent. You can let things. You can let things out. It's your floor.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to try to keep it positive, but there's one thing on my list that definitely will address people. More so, what will I miss? Because it's been a day or two. So what will I miss? I will miss one, seeing my wonderful, wonderful friends. I get to do the amazing athletic and creative things that they do. 2, just hugs from Weber Hatfield. Like,
he gives out the best hugs. The best hugs.
What a sweetheart he is.
He's the best. We had him and Shay on the show before, and they are just the nicest people.
Yeah, and I'm always trying to serve my people. So I told Weber last night, he's helping me load the ring from Labor of Love, and I was like, I think I'm going to wait till December to try to do another show, because I'm a fan of collecting autographs. I don't know if you guys knew that about me, but I've got Allison Hammond.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
This is the newest one I just got, and I have a whole wall here.
Very cool.
So Monster Mania is doing a original Scream cast reunion in Baltimore in October. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to have money for wrestling in October. I think I'm going to be selfish. He goes,
right.
He goes, it's not selfish. Take care of yourself. Have fun. I was just like, thank you. That's so nice.
Right.
Can I have a hug? Yeah, I think that's absolutely the sweetest thing. A lot of people would be like, no, do wrestling. Let me get a booking. Just good people.
Mm-hmm.
3 is catering's pretty good.
Right.
There you
Yeah.
go.
There you go.
What's your favorite like post wrestling food?
Oh God, that's a great question. It depends on, I guess, the venue. I remember when Ralph and I were at Mania Weekend at for the Labor Love Show, Euphoria, and Russell John.
So, John.
Next door was Deke's Barbecue, and we had probably one of the best brisket cheesesteaks you'll ever have, and it was amazing. Like that was like one of the best post show sandwiches I've ever had after a wrestling show.
Nice. Last night they had a ravioli food truck. Shay was like
Oh, nice.
freaking out about it. I always on the ride home, I stop at Wawa and I get a double meat ham and cheese hoagie.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
It's the spot every time.
Absolutely.
And a Coke slushy is much.
Of course.
Yeah.
so my favorite meal kind of ties back to my days as being a Chikara fan, because I spent about 5 years going to every Chikara show I basically they had, and after every show, right down the road, not even a mile from the Wrestle Factory, was Sweet Lucy's Barbecue.
That too.
And,
That too.
Every time I go to Philadelphia, I try to hit that spot, because it's like that food to me reminds me of ways in wrestling that I would have never thought of. Just, the food there, for one, is amazing. They have a cream
Incredible.
spinach that is just unbelievable, but the food there's really good, and it tied to these wrestling memories. You'd go there after the show, and like you'd be sitting there, and like Travis Huckabee would come in, and because a lot of the wrestlers went there as well. So we went there one time. We used to go after shows. We went there one time before a show, and for no reason whatsoever, he wasn't booked on a show, he wasn't appearing anywhere. Nick Gage was just in the line. It's just like, because the line was out the door and he was standing in the line, and we're walking over
ordering a pizza.
Yeah, that's
Right.
Nick Gage. Just
Right.
So yeah, barbecue. That barbecue in specific always reminds me of wrestling.
Nice.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I think the other thing that I'll miss are the opportunities of doing things that I never thought I would do. And that harkens back to the Cybernetico at GCW Fight Forever, that goes with having such random connections to be able to run a venue like the Penn's Landing Catering,
Right.
for like little to nothing, but then being able to help GCW get their Philadelphia Mania shows set up to be in that building.
Yeah.
Because quite a few people were trying to get in there, and they were just like, nah, we're good. So, me and our connections helped them get in there, and that I hang my hat on that. That's just a really cool thing that wouldn't have probably happened otherwise. So yeah, just the unlimited potential of awesomeness is probably one of the greatest things I'll miss. The final thing is like a double-edged sword, because it's working with my friends, and so that's Maestro. Like, what a dream that is, to not only enjoy the things that you're doing, but to see somebody else also enjoying that.
Right.
Shared experience is probably my favorite thing. Like, I would never buy a concert ticket without buying a second ticket just to take somebody, whoever it is, even if I don't have anybody yet, somebody will go and they will have fun with me, and we'll share that. So that's one of my greatest things. So like, I had a friend, ABJ, who I loved to work with, and we did a lot of cool things together. And I don't know, like, I feel like maybe he went behind my back a little bit with Wild LLC. I feel like I don't know, like, I thought you were there to support me and the show and hang out as a friend, but like, at what point do you let your friend know, like, oh yeah, I'm on the show? What?
Right.
Like, one, you didn't tell me, but you knew. So like, you knew this was going to happen to me. Probably. I don't know. I feel kind of jaded by that. And this is somebody that I love and care about deeply. So like, I guess we're going to have a conversation at some point.
Right.
But then also, without drama, there's people like my production team. Like Greg showed up. Greg is a guy that did a lot of our camera work and editing during Leapfrog, and he's been pursuing like stand-up comedy and I think like managing artists and stuff for a while. So we don't get to see him a lot, but when we do, it's wonderful. And he came and took some really nice pictures for us yesterday. Didn't know he was coming, so it was a great surprise seeing him. Our production team in general, it's just so wonderful, and it's like it's a family. And kudos to Laura. I'll always put her over. I could not organize a show to save my life, so she saves my life every show. So yeah, that's what I'll miss, is the camaraderie, the friendships, and all the things that make me a man and a Muppet.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just to kind of tie things up a little bit here, because I'm sure, he's the boss, so he's going to be watching. I'm sure he's going to see this. So, if there's one thing you could say to the Dr. Ethan Wilde right now, coming fresh off of Friday, what would you say?
I would say that this was an unnecessary route to whatever it is that you're looking to achieve. I think that we're stronger together. So I hope that your vision is clear. I hope you know where you're going and where you want to go, because I feel like I have a lot more experience doing what you're about to do. Whereas you've been focused on taking things over, I've actually been running these things. So I hope you're prepared to promote and do all the things that it takes to run a successful show. And I also hope that you're willing to, at your next event, have a face-to-face with myself and hopefully Maestro and maybe Phil Stamper will join me in that conversation about where things went wrong.
You can't have serious talks without the president of wrestling himself,
Absolutely.
Phil Stamper.
I agree.
Yeah.
And to the wrestling world, Ethan doesn't currently own Smash Master Wrestling or Combat Fights Unlimited or Labor of Love or Pro Wrestling Explosion or even Orochi. He owns High Tension Wrestling, but don't think for a minute that he doesn't have his eyes on you as well. If it can happen to me, it can happen to you too.
A word to the wise.
Right.
Well, for what it's worth, whatever happens in the future, you always... Well, you have a home here with us as long as we can figure out how to make that work, because we're in the same boat as you are. So
we're in the same boat, man.
Yeah, we understand your pain.
And yet, all of this.
I know.
Listen, I know. Listen. This was provided. Yeah. This was not a choice. This was, hey, we now own you. Well, this isn't what we require you to do. So
I don't know. I feel like I've been robbed of everything, but while they own your company, you still get to podcast. So in the words of Hannah Montana, you have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Ties it all back in together.
What a
good tie-in.
Well, with that, before we get out of here, as we always do, we are going to talk about some upcoming events.
Ooh, that's fun.
Or as Dylan Mesh's favorite segment, impending doom.
doom.
So
all right. So what does the maybe recent future for you? What does that hold? What it is? Do you see anything in the horizon? Anything you
Have
might
you been
want to?
told anything? Have you been given anything?
No. Well, there is the Phantom Six Wrestling at the Country Club Brewing. This is a event that's near and dear to my heart. Unfortunately, I physically won't be able to be there, but we do have Philly Mike going against Ethan Wild for that title. Which go Philly Mike! But
Right.
that show is a suicide prevention fundraiser.
That's
Oh,
great.
good. That's
So,
fantastic. Yeah.
I urge anybody to show up, or at the very least, donate if you can, if you care. It'd be fantastic. But other than that, I don't really have any events set up. If you've seen some of the online stuff going on, me and Masty from Smashmaster haven't really been seeing eye to eye lately.
Mhm.
And again, it comes down to just really poor communication.
Right.
I think we both have kind of just assumed things about each other, and it's just we just need to have a conversation, and I don't know that he's ready to have that conversation. So I won't really be going to Smashmaster for a while, and I don't know. I feel like if I'm going to do something, I might just go back to my roots, and that because I don't have any money. I've been robbed of my money. I've been robbed of my equipment and all my resources for professional wrestling. I could just start backyard wrestling again, maybe. I don't know. Maybe build from there.
Yeah.
There a market for that? I don't know.
Well,
I'm sure there is.
There's only one way to find out.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right, guys.
And I'm sure you've got the support and backing of plenty of people. So
for sure.
I know that I'm sure the High Tension Wrestling roster, as much as they can, will have your back.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Well, Sean, we have a few things coming up.
We do. Next week is a big one.
Well, it is.
Big one.
We've got a big week coming up here. Of course, on Monday night, you can always catch us watching Monday Night Raw, chilling with the OC, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then over on Friday, you may have one, you may have two.
Who knows?
Who knows how many bros are going to show up?
Many bros
who can make it, but we will be chilling with the bros for some Friday Night SmackDown, again, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then next Sunday, we got a huge episode.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Moonlight Sun himself, Mike Skyros, who we talked about today during the show. 715 days as the HTW Network TV champion. So, we get to chop it up with the Moonlight Sun himself, and we'll get his thoughts on all of this HTW stuff that's going on, and we're just super excited to have him on and chat with him. While you're waiting for that episode, don't forget to check out last week's episode, number 67, where we talked to our good friend Cheeseburger, who came to us live from his office at the Worldwide Wrestling Dojo. We got a little tour of the office, and we just talked all kinds of cool stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And don't forget to check out the very first episode of our new show, Grappling with the Grooves.
Yeah.
Where we talk the world of music with the world of professional wrestlers.
Yes.
So we had our special guest, Shane McCoy, who we also mentioned in this episode. And then Kenny Pete, who is the drummer from the Mystery Men, who provide a lot of our intro music for us. And it was just a lot of fun to chat it up with those guys. So check those out while you're waiting for next week's episode.
Right.
Well, sir, this has been a bittersweet episode. It's been great to chat with you and talk with you. However, under the circumstances, it has not been the best of times. So
it was actually a pleasure in that middle area where I forgot about Wild LLC.
Sure. Right.
I understand completely.
Yes, we both understand.
But
absolutely.
We thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing what is next.
Absolutely.
We know that you'll be doing something amazing. So we're looking forward to seeing what is next. And
it's all about the climb,
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
Brilliant.
That's right.
Man. Wow. Love it. So we're gonna wrap things up with here, and we'll talk with you in just a few moments. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well,
look, it was
not a so sombering episode. Thankfully,
well.
We had some valleys and peaks. So
Yeah. It was interesting getting to know Alex and a little bit about his story and a little bit about High Tension's story.
Mm-hmm.
However, again, bittersweet as
a little bit.
Been taken out of the picture. Of course, we wish the best for everyone involved.
We do,
and hopefully
absolutely.
things will work out. But this has been another great episode. Guys, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Every like, every subscribe, every share. We appreciate every one of them. They are so super important. We do this because not only do we enjoy doing this for our fans and the people that love to watch the show, but we love interviewing people and just getting to show you who these people are.
Yes, absolutely.
It is such an important thing for us. So we thank each and every one of you for joining us today. For Parmesan, for the Real Kilowatt, I am King Ralph. This has been the Opinion City Podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
We out.
On behalf of Wild LLC, this has been the Opinion City Podcast. It has been your pleasure.
Happy trails till we meet